everybody, and welcome to another fun-filled, exciting, and anger-inducing episode of Andrew Rants. That's right, the video series where I stand upon my metaphorical soapbox pedestal of the world and I bitch and complain about a lot of things that just piss me the hell off. And I have a newfound rage boner for a lot of stuff. In fact, this slight little break from doing rant videos has actually helped me find inner peace. And then the internet just completely stomped on my inner peace like it was a tiny little ant that was just trying to, find comfort in my hand. Bastards. So what's my beef du jour today? Well, for those of you out there that are wondering, I'm glad you asked, first off. Today I'm ranting about Rotten Tomatoes. It's horrible when they start to stink, they can't be sold for shit, and basically the only thing they're good for is chucking them at people you don't like, at least back in the olden days. Nowadays you can't do that. Well, that's been my rant video, folks. Good night. Alright. That was a cheap cop-out. No, I'm talking about Rotten Tomatoes, the movie reviewing site. Now, I've actually had a beef with these people for a long time. For starters, their somewhat accuracy confuses the hell out of me. Now, happily, I have heard that they are changing up their exact way that they're doing this, and in all honesty, about fucking time. But let's get down to the brass tacks of this. I think you people are stupid. Now, I mean no disrespect to you, I applaud what you do, but there are some things that I just can't grasp a hold of. People instantly go to Rotten Tomatoes to see how good or bad a movie is. Okay, I understand the fad of wanting to do that. It's like basically going to see a reviewer and ask them how was the movie. Oh, it was this and blah blah blah, and insert bad jokes here. I understand the concept of you don't like the idea, and I'm all for it if it pisses you off. But then there's also the concept of you're complaining about it. Why? And that's what always catches me off guard. Now, majority of the time, people just have general criticisms over the movie, and occasionally they do suck. And the ones that do suck, happily, are reflected on their site as bad. But let me get back to my original point. Your site confuses me, at least the older way you do it. Now, as I said, I know you're planning a redo of it. First off, like I said again, it's about fucking time. But how exactly does your score system work here? The closer you are to 100, the fresher it is? Or the closer to 0 you are, the less rotten it is? Because your site's called Rotten Tomatoes. It's not called We Think They're Rotten Tomatoes, but just go check out this movie anyway. I don't think that would work for an HTML, and I studied web design. That would suck. So basically, your entire concept is, and I'm just ballparking this here, and if I'm wrong, please, by all means, tell me. Your entire concept is, we're going to review this movie, give you the points of it so you don't have to go see it if it sucks. And word of mouth and social media nowadays don't do that. How? The minute a movie hits theaters, 150 YouTubers are in the seats seeing it. Just to go out and do a review video and tell you how much it sucks. If a trailer comes out, there are YouTubers watching the trailer and giving their thoughts on it. Hell, I finally just did one myself over that stupid Sonic the Hedgehog trailer. Ugh. There's a nightmare I'm going to be talking to a therapist about in the future. But in all honesty, I can't understand the concept of your site anymore. Besides the fact that I think you just are too stubborn to lay down and die, and it's just like, we're going to stick around forever. Your site never made sense to begin with, because I always thought that if something's rotten, the closer to 100% you're going, that means the more rotten it is. But apparently it's the other way around. If it's at 100, it's fresh. The less it gets, the more rotten it is. But then wouldn't 1 be good and 100 be bad if your site is called Rotten Tomatoes? I mean, you're basically giving a scale of how rotten this is. If it's 100% rotten, that's rotten. But if it's at a 1, that just means, you picked it up today from the supermarket, but it's still good. What the hell? Not to mention the fact that there are some movies on your site that honestly need a redo. Now, I have an entire list of them, and I'm not even going to bother reading the list. Mostly because Well, in all honesty, if I did that, I'd be here for an hour and a half. And I'm not going to do an hour and a half rant video. Hell no. I'm not that crazy. But my point is this. You basically have a website that is dedicated to giving a movie review and a score to tell people how fresh or bad it is, and yet your system is more confusing than my taxes. Your system's more confusing than how to get monetized on YouTube. I almost feel like I'm making crappy your mama jokes and just saying about your site. Now, as I stated multiple times in this, I have heard about this massive overhaul you're going to be doing in regards to the scoring system or something along those lines. But my point still stands. At one point in time, your site was a good site. Now, I don't know what the hell to call it. Is it still a site? Does it function as a site? What is its intended purpose? IMDb still exists because people can use that to find celebrities. Wikipedia will always be around because it is a massive source for fan-made information. Especially the fact if you're a fan of a series and you know a lot about it, it's a perfect place to put your information up, because then it can be conglomerated by other people. And there are fan wikis about stuff, too. It's not all BS information, while granted a majority of it should be taken with a grain of salt, but still. So what is the purpose of Rotten Tomatoes anymore? Do they have a purpose in this newfound society that is free from the crap holes of an actual honest reviewer? Whereas you have 150 of them on YouTube and will review something in a matter of seconds. And if you don't want to listen to them, you got Peter Travers lying through his teeth on popcorn. Not to mention how many of the high-paid, movie reviewers for magazines, newspapers, and stuff like that get paid shit tons of money to write a review about something that they probably got to watch for free. There's a thing called a press pass that gets them in. They can see the stuff before it happens. They write up the review, and then it goes out. At least some of them do. Maybe there's some honest ones that actually pay for it. Who knows? Then again, that'd be like going to a really cheap hooker, but you never know. But anyway, what are your thoughts on Rotten Tomatoes? Do you think it is still a viable site anymore in this day and age? Or do you think it should just shut its doors and something new should just come from where the ashes once stood? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And until next time, I'm Andrew Rhodes, and this has been Andrew Rants.